Chris Jericho is seen sat in his jacuzzi. He pours a little bit of the bubbly into a flute glass on the wall next to him. On his left, the AEW World Championship is perched. He goes on to say, "It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Chris Jericho makes his appearance on Dynamite, but you may be all wondering why I'm at home at my palatial estate, sipping a little bit of the bubbly. The reason is simple. Today is a holiday, and I know what you're all probably thinking, but Chris, we've just had 5 months off, sat at home, scratching our balls. Well, because I'm feeling generous, because I'm in a good mood after being reunited what's rightfully mine, because I am Le Champion of AEW, I declare today National Chris Jericho Day. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fact AEW is no longer at the hands of that, dare I say it, lunatic Jon Moxley. Go. Enjoy." Chris Jericho proceeds to drink from the little bit of the bubbly bottle. Wiping his mouth, he leans over and plants a kiss on the AEW title and then smirks at the camera. So this segment, advancing the storyline for the World Championship, Jericho working the crowd as usual. Good improvisation, great gimmick, got a 79 rating. A great way to open up this week's edition of Dynamite. So this week's edition of AEW Dynamite sees the beginning of the TNT Championship Tournament. Jeff Cobb making his debut against Marco Stunt. One half of the Tag Team Champions, Kenny Omega, will take on Shawn Spears. We'll also see the other half of the quarterfinals in the TNT Championship as Colt Boom Boom Cabana takes on 1/3 of the Death Triangle pack. And also we got the Broken Matt Hardy's Open Challenge. So we move into this segment, basically going through the match card. The Dynamite by No One Hero blasts from the speakers as pyro explodes from the entranceway. Multiple cameras pan over the live crowd. Jim Ross, welcome everyone to what I'm sure will be another explosive episode of AEW Dynamite. We're here live once again inside of a packed Daly's Place. What a lineup tonight, Excalibur. Certainly, JR, we have the first matches of the TNT Championship Tournament taking place, plus Matt Hardy is here, ready for his Open Challenge. I just wonder which Matt Hardy turns up and who accepts. And Tony Schiavone, how about that? Also from Le Champion Chris Jericho. The audacity to take Mox's title is incredible, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we hear from the champ. And speaking of Jon Moxley, JR, Excalibur and Tony Schiavone get interrupted by his music. Take a quick look at the dirt sheet, not much really to note here. Got a good rating because of the road agent work from Arn Anderson. Got a segment rating of 46, happy with that. Again, it's just a quick opener to Dynamite as we roll straight into the next segment as Jon Moxley swaggers his way to the ring through the crowd and gets jumped from behind by Jake Hager, who was sat amongst them. Hager throws Mox over the fan barricade, sends him into the steel steps and drags him into the ring. Santana and Ortiz, also of the Inner Circle, jump the fan barricade and joining the attack. Santana with that Inner Circle bandana covering his nose and mouth. Ortiz with the loaded socket extension of his arm, laying out Moxley. When Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, race out from the back, slide into the ring and trade fists with Santana and Ortiz, the two members of the Inner Circle that cost them their match last week against Private Party, finally clotheslining them both to the outside. They turn around to find Hager running at them full steam looking for a double clothesline of his own, but the Young Bucks duck and nail him with a double super kick, sending him also to the outside. Hager, Santana and Ortiz retreat up the ramp looking pissed off. The Young Bucks help Mox to his feet and he asks for a mic. So quite the action-packed start to Dynamite this week. It advances the World Championship storyline and the Young Bucks versus Proud and Powerful storyline this segment. Moxley came out of this looking excellent. Matt and Nick Jackson was good. The announcing quality lifted the segment. Unfortunately though, the lack of anything exciting happening in this segment was a problem. which is a bit disappointing. Probably should have gone over that a little bit more in depth before I actually hit book, but not to worry. I've described everything that's happened, so we'll just go over that. We'll just forget that we've seen that. Anyway, moving into the next segment, as Jake Hager, Santana and Ortiz watch on from the top of the rampway, Moxley goes to speak. Hey, Chris, I know you're watching. You see that? You and your inner circle jerks there just got their asses handed to them. Now, seeing as you're clearly not here tonight with my title, guess what? I'll come find you. I don't care. Whether it's at your house, man, in your bedroom, bathroom, living room, or even your paddling pool, I simply don't care. You continue drinking that bubbly, because once me and the Bucks are done with your three stooges up there, later tonight here on Dynamite, I'll be on my way. You better have home insurance. So a much better rating there for this segment. John Moxley dropped a mic. His music hits as he stands alongside Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, again advancing both those storylines. It's good to see that the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful has advanced with this segment and gained heat also. Jake Hager was poor as he couldn't improvise. He wasn't even on the mic anyway. I didn't have him down for script, but that's something to remember for next time, I think. Let's just have a look. Let's see what the negatives are on the dirt sheet. Segment rating was penalised due to the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful storyline with low heat. It's low because it wasn't even activated last week for some reason. A bit of a glitch in the system, I think, in that tag team match against the Private Party. But there we go anyway. The main event for tonight has been made. The Young Bucks, Moxley, teaming up to take on Hager, Santana and Ortiz. Moving swiftly on then to the next segment, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page are backstage in their locker room. Kenny Omega is preparing for a match whilst Hangman Page is swigging from a bottle of Bud. Of course he is. Kenny Omega, hey dude, seriously? Can't you wait until you get home to have a drink? Hey, I'm just taking advantage of the hospitality here in Jacksonville. Besides, I don't have a match tonight. And Kenny Omega replies with, what if I need you out there? Hangman, you'll be good. You'll do your thing. Because you're Kenny goddamn Omega. Maybe after you've won your match, you can come join me for a few. We all know that that would never happen. Kenny Omega shakes his head and leaves the locker room saying, see you in a bit. So, this segment, it advances the storyline for the tag titles. It gained heat also, which is good. Kenny Omega benefiting from a groundswell of public support. Let's move over to the dirt sheet. Again, the segment limited for being short. I'm going to have to remember that for next time for these two. Then we move in to Jeff Cobb's debut here on AEW Dynamite. Yeah, we saw him take on Moxley towards the start of the year, but he is now full-time here in AEW. He went on to defeat Marco Stunt within 5 minutes 21 after a tour of the islands. He took Marco Stunt on a tour of the islands. He advances through to the next round of the TNT Championship Tournament. Marco Stunt is getting better at his gimmick. That's good to see. Jeff Cobb got a bonus for selling, star quality, high morale. He is on a high at the moment since putting pen to paper. Marco Stunt was penalised for inconsistency. A 46 there, and there is the confirmation. Jeff Cobb into the semi-finals. Then we go backstage to see Brandy Rhodes looking a bit annoyed with a mobile phone in hand. She goes walking into an office room where Cody is stood talking on his phone. Brandy Rhodes gets his attention as he covers up his phone to listen to what she has to say. Brandy Rhodes, who gave you my number? Seriously? Why does he have my number? I'm on a business call, babe. Who has your number? And we saw this kind of interaction last week, and Brandy goes on to say, Sammy Guevara. He's constantly sending texts. You should see some of them. I dread to think what he'll send next. Okay, I'll see what I can do, but I gotta finish this call. Is that okay, babe? Brandy walks out without answering, deleting messages. So we're carrying on with the story that Sammy Guevara, being the nuisance that he is, and at the moment it just doesn't seem as though it's phasing Cody as much as it is Brandy. Obviously Brandy on the receiving end of it. She's not keen on it. And it's certainly something not accepted nowadays. But it's just classic Sammy Guevara as we've seen, you know, with the cards on AEW in real life. We're just playing off that character at the moment. It got a really good rating too. So moving in to our next match then, in a bout that had great heat and decent wrestling, Kenny Omega defeated Shawn Spears in 11-11 by pinfall with a one-winged angel. No one kicks out of the one-winged angel. Unfortunately though, Kenny Omega and Shawn Spears didn't click, which made for an awkward bout. Omega benefiting from the groundswell of public support. The announcer quality lifted the match. What were the negatives then on the dirt sheet? Shawn Spears was penalised for inconsistency, trying to go all out. Obviously it's a big match for him up against Omega. He was penalised for his stamina as well, Shawn Spears. And after the match, up on the big screen at the top of the entranceway, Pac, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix are stood in what looks like a boiler room. Pac goes on to say, "We are Death Triangle. All Elite Wrestling. You did this to yourselves and nobody is safe. We are here to take what is rightfully ours. We are here to simply dominate. Colt Cabana, you felt what it was like to be on the end of a beating on Dark. Now you step into the bastard's playpen. Kenny Omega, a shadow of who he once was. Hangman Adam Page, a fraud of a cowboy. Them holding the AEW tag titles make me sick. My amigos here are ready to remedy that and take them from you at All Out. The challenge has been set. Accept if you dare." Not a bad segment rating at all, really. Pac walks out of the shot, and so does Rey Fenix, leaving Pentagon Jr., who stares at the camera and says, "Celo Mido." So there we have it, a potential World Tag Team Championship match set for All Out between the Lucha Brothers and Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega. Challenge has been set, as Pac says. It's up to Omega and Page to accept. And this, of course, does advance the TNT Championship tournament because he mentioned Colt Cabana, who he takes on later this evening in the second half of the quarterfinals. So there we go, 66 rating. We move into the next segment, which is an angle featuring Alex Marvez. With me at this time, Dr. Britt Baker. Last week we saw the devastating attack on Shida, where she was powerbombed off the stage. She left in a neck brace. What are your thoughts on the Beast Nyla Rose as AEW Women's Champion and her actions? And Britt Baker goes on to say, "I couldn't care less about Shida. She thinks she got one over on me last week. Well, what's the saying? She who laughs last, laughs best. What Nyla Rose did to her last week saved me a job and puts me a step closer to that AEW Women's title." So shots fired there towards Hikaru Shida, and Chris Statlander steps into the interview. She stares down Britt Baker and proceeds to boop her on the nose. And Statlander, "See you out in the ring." Britt Baker raises an eyebrow. Obviously we know these two were set to face off at Double or Nothing in real life. Didn't happen, unfortunately, due to that injury that Britt Baker picked up, but it's going to happen here tonight on this episode of Dynamite. And this does advance the storyline for the Women's Championship, but it did lose heat. Going into that match then, it didn't have much heat and terrible wrestling, as Britt Baker did defeat Chris Statlander within 6 minutes 12 with submission after blatantly cheating. Got a segment rating of 29. This is something I really want to work on, the women's division here in AEW. It's not the best that it can possibly be at the moment. Yes, it's very good, but it can be better. So you're going to have to watch that space for now. Moving into the next segment then, it's an angle featuring the Butcher and the Blade. The Butcher and the Blade stand inside of a dilapidated building, and the Blade goes on to say, "All Elite Wrestling, you've never seen anything like this before. We're not two flash-in-the-pan little boys. We're two grown-ass men with 20 years of pure grit and passion behind our craft. We're the Butcher and the fucking Blade." The camera turns to the Butcher. "Our next order of chaos is to cause chaos and anarchy within AEW. We already have a few friends who are willing to join us, and we're ready to take the spoils of war. You best be ready." A dark segment then from the Butcher and the Blade. The Blade spits on the floor to finish the segment, almost like an exclamation point. I've got big plans for the Butcher and the Blade. I really like them as characters. not much can be said about their in-ring work. I mean, I think it's alright, it's decent. Again, I love their characters and where you can go with them. Got a segment rating of 37, hopefully that'll improve as time goes on. Now, we move in to the next match. It's a tag team match. SCU defeating the Dark Order in 7:56. Last week we saw Brody Lee at the head of the table, wanting Evil Uno and Stu Grayson to come here on Dynamite and to show everyone why they should be joining the Dark Order. Well, that hasn't happened, as SCU have got the win over them. Scorpio Sky pinning Evil Uno with a quick roll-up. Segment rating of 51, a decent match. I think it was Stu Grayson with the best in-ring performance from this match. Let's have a look at the negatives on the dirt sheet. Kazarian was penalised for inconsistency. Don't believe that for a second. And the Dark Order recruiting storyline has low heat at the moment. That's a bit disappointing, but it's a long-term storyline, so I'm not too fussed about that at the moment. But surely that's going to piss Brody Lee off. We move into the next segment. It's MJF sat on a throne swirling a glass of wine. You know, everyone in the Rhodes family is the same. They give off this idea that they are the only legendary family in this business, that they pour their blood, sweat and tears into this business. Well, guess what? They've done nothing but bleed this business dry all these years. They are selfish. They are self-centered. They only care about themselves. Just look at last year. An old has-been washed-up old dude and a young dashing lad riding on the coattails of his father, doing battle at Double or Nothing, and for what? Just to keep themselves relevant. Once I'm done with you, Dustin, if you ever decide to grow a pair and accept my offer, you'll be forgot as soon as the bell rings at All Out and I'm declared winner. Because I'm better than you, and you know it. So that finishes off the segment with MJF. He downs his wine, stands up, adjusts his tie, and walks off. Segment rating of 82. Fantastic promo from MJF. As expected, he benefited from being Flavour of the Month also, which was the case last week on Dynamite. He got a bonus for a legendary gimmick for being the amazing heel. And of course, I had Jake Roberts as the road agent due to his promo work as well. One of the best talkers, if not the best talker in the business. So we're still awaiting an answer from Dustin Rhodes about his potential retirement match at All Out. We'll have to wait and see. Up next is the second TNT Championship Tournament match between Pac and Colt Boom Boom Cabana. And about that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Pac defeated Colt Cabana in 9 minutes 8 by pinfall with a 450 splash from the top rope. So it's Pac that goes through to the next round. The announcing quality lifted the match. Cabana benefited from a groundswell of support. Let's have a quick look at the negatives from this one on the dirt sheet. Cabana was penalised for holding back again, just like he was in that dark match against Pentagon Jr. And Pac was penalised for holding back also. Don't believe that for 1 second. But we take a look at the updated brackets then. So in the semi-final we're going to get Jeff Cobb and Pac. And after the match, Pac, similar to this past week's AEW Dark, continues to beat down on Colt Cabana, hammering him with blows to the head, busting him wide open in the process, until Jeff Cobb makes the save. Pac gets out of dodge, staring Cobb down from the rampway. And we're just going to ignore the last line. I've put here that Jeff Cobb turns to a bloody Colt Cabana, helps him up to his feet, and then sends him on a tour of the islands. An exclamation point, pretty much showing off to Pac what he is capable of. But we're going to ignore this bit. Next week, you're mine. I forgot we're not doing the semi-finals next week. So we'll just ignore that. But Jeff Cobb making a point to Pac that he is next. And that got a rating of 56. So we move into the next segment. We hear from Jake Roberts once again. Him and Lance Archer standing near a swinging light bulb in a dark room, and Jake Roberts goes on to say, the pendulum continues to swing in All Elite Wrestling, the clock always ticking. Next week though, next week it finally stops. The clocks will stop. People will pause because hell's fixing to break loose. the gates will open and Lance Archer will step forth from the smoke, ready to destroy whatever stands in his way. And just because I'm smiling doesn't mean I'm happy. To put Lance Archer in his first match against Orange Cassidy is a damn insult. Lance Archer, he is pissed. Oh God, is he pissed. He is someone you shouldn't make mad. You're delaying the inevitable. Playing these silly little games. Hell, you know what? Continue to throw the likes of Orange Cassidy at Lance Archer, and he'll continue to knock them down. On your head be it. See you next week. I just love putting these promos together. Putting Lance Archer over as a real monster, Murderhawk monster. I just love doing it. I loved watching it as well. Play out on Dynamite in real life. It got a segment rating of 59. I felt it could have been a lot better, but I feel this solidifies Lance Archer heading into that debut of his next week. Up next was Broken Matt Hardy's open challenge, which he laid out last week, his proposition. And it was Darby Allin that stepped up to the challenge, that accepted. He came out. It was a good bout, had good heat, decent wrestling, but it was Matt Hardy that defeated Darby Allin within 8 minutes 13 by pinfall with a fast roll-up. So it wasn't a decisive win. It was disappointing to see that Matt Hardy seemed off his game for this one. We'll just have a look at the dirt sheet here. Darby Allin getting loads of bonuses for selling, charisma, star quality, going all out. Let's have a look at the negatives. The segment rating was penalised for odd face-heel combination. That's right, two faces going head-to-head. But that doesn't really matter in AEW. As we know, there's not much emphasis on that in AEW in real life. So there we go, segment rating of 57. Could have been slightly better, I feel. And I didn't really want the match to go on too long either. But after the match, Matt Hardy walks over and offers his hand as a sign of respect to Darby Allin for putting up a great fight, but Allin refuses the handshake and walks off. So Darby Allin has been pitted as that enigma in AEW, a charismatic enigma. We all know who else was a charismatic enigma in pro wrestling. So we'll have to see where this goes. It certainly left things wide open. We've got a hype video up next playing the match graphics for a match next week which has just been made. Kenny Omega to step in the ring against 1/3 of the Death Triangle. Pentagon Jr. Should certainly be a hell of a match. And for the main event of the evening, with TV time remaining, it is a 6-man tag. Jon Moxley, the AEW World Champion, teaming up with the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson, to take on Jake Hager, Santana and Ortiz of the Inner Circle. And in a bout that had great wrestling and good heat, Moxley and the Young Bucks defeated the Inner Circle when Moxley pinned Jake Hager with, well, it says Death Rider, but we all know it would be a paradigm shift. And I'm so happy with that segment rating. The only downside was Excalibur on commentary. For some reason he was quite weak for this main event, which is a bit disappointing. I think Excalibur is one of the better commentators around today, one of my favourites without doubt. A lot of inconsistency though from the likes of Matt Jackson, Jake Hager, Santana, Ortiz. Low heat also for the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful, but I expect that to go up in the next couple of weeks. But 79, almost breaking into the 80s there. A great way to finish off Dynamite this week. Moxley beating the Three Stooges of the Inner Circle. What's going to happen next week? Is he actually going to go to Jericho's palatial estate? We'll have to wait and see. But an overall rating of 75. Yes! That's an improvement on last week's episode, which got 73. This week's 75. Really happy with that. The main event bumping it up. We saw Jericho at home to kick off the show. I'm so excited now for this series. It's getting better and better. I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying it also. The show increased our popularity in 24 regions. Let's go and have a look at the ratings. Let's see if we've beaten NXT. They beat us last week. Have they beaten us this week? We are doing Wednesday Night Wars. We got a show rating of 75. We had an attendance of 3,192 packed into Daly's place. And we scored a 1.7 TV rating. with a total of 1.2 million viewers. That's a huge jump compared to last week's episode. We had just over 800,000 watching. This week we had 1.2 million. That's quite something, and we scored a 1.2 rating on TNT as well, gaining 902,000 viewers. We have a look at NXT. You can see we've beaten them again with the show rating. They scored a 71. And how about that? We've beaten them in ratings this week. So it's 1-1 with the Wednesday Night Wars. They did score a 1.56 TV rating, but they only had 1.1 mil watching. So really happy with that. Really happy going forwards now into the next episode of AEW Dynamite. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you all very soon for the next episode.